oftentimes we talk about stories from all over the world. We've been to Egypt, we've been to England, we've been to Scotland, but today's story comes right from our backyard. You see, hidden under the green hills of Virginia is this treasure. And it's not just any treasure, it's a massive amount of treasure that's been buried and that is hidden. However, there is one clue out there that talks about whether or not the treasure actually exists. However, it's written in 3 parts. And it's not like a message like you and I would read or send to a friend or family members. No. This is a special message. It's a message that many people over the years have tried to read. However, it's written in a secret code and no one's been able to break. A coded cipher that's been lost over the years. So today, we're gonna dig in deeper to the treasure hunt and try to figure out, is it still out there and can we find it? For over 180 years, the search for the treasure left by Thomas J. Beale has fascinated treasure hunters far and wide. But who is this Thomas J. Beale and where does his treasure lie? Our mysterious story begins in 1818. So in 1818, a band or a group of 30 Virginians went on this hunting expedition to the Great Wild Wild West. Now, what's the Great Wild Wild West? You may have heard about it before. It's an area in the United States like Arizona and Colorado, New Mexico, Texas is in there. It's a lot of these states, all right? Now, the Wild Wild West got its name because, well, it's a wild and crazy place. Back then, there were no police stations or grocery stores or fire departments. No, everyone was left to fend for themselves. They had to find their own food and shelter. And it got a little rowdy because it was really hard for them to upstand the law and to set these guidelines for people to live by. Well, this group of 30 fit right into the Wild Wild West because they were actually kind of crazy themselves, and they were led by this very charming but very mysterious adventurer by the name of Thomas J. Beale. Now, this group spent many, many months searching the prairies and the plains for any kind of piece of treasure that they could dig up. However, as time went by and they found nothing, they got very discouraged, and they were about to give up when it had been a couple of months went by. They were in the Great Rocky Mountains and they came across some treasure. Little pieces of silver and gold and jewels, but just enough to intrigue their interest to keep on going. So the next couple of years, they spent away from their friends and family, using every waking second that they had to search for gold and silver. And eventually, their hard work paid off because they did find treasure, a lot of treasure, enough to fill up 2 wagon trains. Now, that first wagon, they filled up with over 1,000 pounds of gold and over 38 pounds of silver. And if that doesn't sound like a lot, they filled up a whole second wagon in 1821 with 1,900 pounds of gold and over 1,300 pounds of silver. Now, the craziest part about this whole thing is, like I told you back then, the Wild Wild West was crazy and was known for having outlaws and bandits that would steal from people any chance that they got. However, none of Beale's gold or silver was touched or stolen in that 2,000 journeying back home, which is crazy if you think about it. They made their way back through the Wild Wild West and eventually brought their treasure back to Buford's Tavern in Bedford County, Virginia, where they buried it in a rock-lined underground vault. And they didn't tell anybody where the location of this vault was. So according to the story, Beale left this strong box, or what we would call a safety deposit box, with his friend, the tavern keeper, Robert Morris. And then he went back over the Mississippi River in 1822 to explore for more gold and go on another expedition. However, he never came back to the tavern again. However, a letter was mailed from St. Louis that told the tavern keeper to expect another letter in 1832. And in that letter, there would be a key to interpreting what was inside the strongbox. You see, Thomas was a very smart and cunning man, and he knew that over time, people would figure out and find out about his gold and treasure. And so he decided he was going to hide it to where no one else would be able to find it. So to keep the location safe from thieves and pillagers, he created 3 separate messages in these coded ciphers, all right? The first message is thought to explain where the treasure is actually buried. The second cipher was supposedly there to describe how much money or goods were buried. And the third cipher was believed to have the list of all the fellow miners and their family members. Unfortunately, no letter arrived in 1832. So when the tavern keeper went to open the strongbox, he found letters to him, plus papers with numbers based in an unknown code. However, there was no key to decipher the codes left in the box for him. So the tavern owner and Beale's friend Morris spent many years trying to decode these messages. but eventually died before he could find any answers. And when he passed away, a man by the name of James Ward ended up claiming the papers. Now, Ward claims that he ended up solving the second cipher using the Declaration of Independence. However, he couldn't figure out the others, and eventually he grew tired of the mystery, so he publicized his own discoveries in a pamphlet in 1885 that told the story of Beale's treasure. Because of that pamphlet in 1885 being publicized, treasure hunters from all over the world still fled to Virginia to this day searching for Beale's treasure. It said it consumes people and that many people have gone on this voyage looking for it, but have never actually come back and are said to be lost in the mountains still searching. And so with very few solid clues out there, it's left people to wonder, will we ever truly find the treasure? Is it a hoax? Is it a made up story that people sent out there to bring people into Virginia? No one actually knows. So will it be buried for all time out of sight? I don't know. Now, this is the craziest thing. So I was doing more research about Thomas J. Beale himself, this fascinating treasure hunter who took this group of 30 people and ended up finding thousands and thousands and thousands worth of pounds of gold and silver that today would be over $100 million that is buried somewhere in the hills in Virginia. However, when I was researching about him, I found out that he was part of the Freemasons. Now, the Freemasons are a very, very, very old, what you would call like a fraternity group of men that were held for political leaders and really wealthy people over time. A lot of famous people and presidents that we know of were Freemasons once in the day, but they were also known as being very mysterious by hiding a lot of our nation's secrets. So it is said that Beale actually took some of their secrets along with his treasure, and they are all buried together somewhere in the hills in Virginia. And that if you find the treasure, you might find some of the other biggest unsolved mysteries the United States has to offer us. So I know after the story, my kids are going to try to get me to go on a vacation to the hills in Virginia. But if you're in Virginia, I want you to do some research. You don't have to go explore for treasure, but try to do some research and learn a little bit more about it. And let me know if you're able to figure out the ciphers, because they're still out there waiting to be searched and waiting to be found.